You're wearing a mask, and it's killing you inside. Why pleasing everyone is quietly destroying your soul, and how to finally break free. The silent self-destruction you don't even notice. Every time you say yes when you mean no, stay silent when you're angry, or put everyone else before yourself, you're not being generous. You're abandoning yourself. What looks like kindness to the world is often self-betrayal at your core. And the worst part? You're doing it unconsciously, automatically molding yourself to fit what others expect. You scan the room, feel the emotions of others, and instinctively adapt. Not out of love, but out of a deep-seated need for approval, an invisible desperation to belong. But this desperate harmony comes at a cost. Your energy, your time, your dreams. Your true self gets buried beneath a performance. Your persona isn't you. It's a prison. Psychologist Carl Jung called this mask the persona. It's the social face we wear to be accepted. At first, it's useful, a necessary interface between you and the world. But over time, it becomes who you think you are. You start to believe your worth is tied to being helpful, agreeable, selfless. You become the one who's always there. But it's not you. It's a character you created to survive. This constant role-playing isn't noble. It's exhausting. It's not who you are. It's who you think others need you to be. And every time you suppress your true feelings, your anger, your desires, your boundaries, that mask gets tighter. You confuse the mask for your identity and forget the person underneath. The shadow you're avoiding controls you. Why do you keep doing it, even when you know it's draining you? Because facing the truth would mean confronting your shadow, the part of you you've rejected. Jung said the shadow contains everything you repress: your anger, selfishness, defiance, your need to be seen. You wear the mask to hide from it. But here's the paradox. The more you ignore the shadow, the more it drives your behavior from behind the scenes. You think you're helping people, but you're running. You think you're just being nice, but really you're terrified of rejection, of disapproval, of not being needed. Childhood taught you love was conditional. Where did this pattern start? Likely in childhood. Maybe you learned early on that being good, quiet, kind, compliant got you love, that your anger or frustration was too much, so you suppressed it. You learned that to belong, you had to sacrifice parts of yourself. That's when the cycle began. You became hyper-aware of others' emotions, constantly scanning for signs of displeasure. You learned to detect needs before they were spoken, to offer help before anyone asked, anything to avoid rejection. Over time, this hypervigilance turned into your default setting. And now, saying no feels like betrayal, the hidden trap of seeking acceptance. You're not alone. According to Alfred Adler's psychology, the desire to belong is a fundamental human drive. But when it becomes distorted, when you believe your worth depends on pleasing others, it turns toxic. You start to live not your life, but the tasks of others. As Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga explain in The Courage to be Disliked. And here's the cruelest twist. No matter how hard you try, you'll never fully control what others think. Someone will always be disappointed. Someone will always disapprove. You're chasing a moving target, validation from people who may never give it, and even if they do, it never feels like enough. You're reinforcing the trap you want to escape. Each time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you reinforce the image of yourself as endlessly available. People come to expect it. And when you finally try to set a boundary, you feel guilt, not just for letting them down, but for betraying your own carefully constructed persona. You tell yourself you enjoy helping, you like being needed, but beneath that comfort is exhaustion, resentment, a silent scream for freedom. And the more you ignore it, the louder it gets, until burnout, depression, or breakdown forces you to face what you've been running from. Your worth is not measured by self-sacrifice. Let's be clear. Your value doesn't come from your usefulness. You weren't born to be everyone's emotional caretaker, therapist, or savior. You have your own journey, your own voice, your own needs. And ignoring them doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you invisible to yourself. Real growth begins when you stop asking, "What do they need from me?" and start asking, "What do I need?" That's the beginning of individuation. The process Jung described is becoming your authentic self, not the mask, not the role. You. Breaking free means facing what hurts. Yes, it will be uncomfortable. You'll feel guilt, fear, and maybe even loss. You'll worry that setting boundaries makes you selfish. You'll question your worth without constant validation. But this discomfort isn't punishment. It's liberation. To reclaim your life, you must confront your shadow. Step out of the role you've been playing. Peel off the persona, not to isolate yourself, but to integrate. To bring your true self into the world with honesty and power. The freedom you've been searching for. You can't keep living for others. That's not compassion. That's a slow death of the soul. But you can live with purpose, authenticity, and boundaries. You can be loved for who you really are, not just for who you pretend to be. And the moment you realize that, truly realize it, is the moment you begin to break the cycle. Your freedom isn't in being liked, it's in being yourself. If this resonated with you, stay tuned for the next section, where we'll explore how to confront your shadow, reclaim your boundaries, and rediscover the voice beneath the mask. The hidden cost of pleasing others. The more anxious, exhausted, and empty you become, the more trapped you are in a life that is not truly yours. Every choice you avoid out of fear of displeasing, every boundary you don't set to avoid rejection, every truth you silence to preserve harmony, this is your life force being drained. And yet, breaking this pattern isn't easy. Saying no, expressing your truth, and setting boundaries. All these actions trigger deeply suppressed emotions like guilt, shame, and fear. These emotions fuel the need for social acceptance. They operate as an invisible engine, keeping you stuck. You may know you shouldn't try to please everyone, but when the moment comes, fear takes over. So we must go deeper now. The real path to freedom is not becoming stronger by force, but by turning inward, by confronting the shadow, the confrontation with the shadow. Now that you understand your unconscious need for acceptance, it's time for the most difficult part, confronting your shadow. As Carl Jung explained, the shadow is made up of all the parts of you that you've repressed, rejected, or denied. Everything you were taught was unacceptable or unlovable got locked away in a dark corner of your psyche. But those authentic feelings don't disappear, they grow. Repressed anger becomes resentment. Suppressed frustration turns into apathy. Denied desires morph into fatigue, sadness, even illness. Especially in people pleasers, the shadow hides the very emotions you fear the most: anger, selfish desires, the need to set limits, the longing to choose yourself first. You were probably conditioned to see those emotions as dangerous or shameful. Maybe you were punished for expressing them. Maybe you were taught that to be good meant to be quiet, kind, agreeable, incapable of saying no. But until you embrace these hidden parts of yourself, you will continue living only half of your truth. The price of repression. Every time you say yes when you wanted to say no, you're not just helping someone, you're betraying yourself. You're reinforcing the idea that your needs don't matter, your truth has no value. And the cost of that betrayal is huge. You start to lose your connection with your creative energy, your joy, your ability to feel alive. Jung called the process of reclaiming these parts of ourselves individuation. It's not about destroying the shadow, it's about integrating it. Yes, you have anger. Yes, you have needs. Yes, you have limits. These are not flaws, these are facts. And honoring them is an act of strength. But once you start honoring your truth, those old emotions will come up stronger than ever. Guilt, shame, fear. Most people backslide here. They return to the safety of pleasing others just to avoid these feelings. But these emotions aren't your enemies. They are the gatekeepers to your freedom, the portal to liberation. Everything you resist persists. If you run from guilt, it will chase you. If you repress anger, It will show up in illness or emotional explosions. The only way out is through. You must feel these emotions without letting them define you. Once you can sit with guilt, shame, and fear without letting them control you, you begin to taste a new kind of freedom, one that doesn't rely on approval, one that comes from within. Breaking the pattern. Practical strategies. You now understand the trap, but how do you get out? The key is awareness and action together. Intellectual understanding isn't enough. You must begin creating new experiences that retrain your emotional system. Here are 4 powerful tools to begin with. The conscious pause. When you feel the urge to say yes or cave to a demand, stop. Breathe. Count to 60. Let the discomfort surface. Guilt, fear, shame, and observe it. This tiny space between impulse and action changes everything. Over time, you'll learn to choose from your values, not your conditioning. The practice of saying no. Start small. Say no to low-risk requests. Decline an invite. Don't answer that message right away. Hold your no even when it's uncomfortable. Each time you do, you rebuild your right to exist as your authentic self. Reevaluate your relationships. Notice the people who consistently test your limits or take advantage of your people-pleasing. Some relationships reinforce your prison. Prioritize those rooted in mutual respect and truth. Clear communication. Learn to say things like, "I can't do that right now. This doesn't work for me. I need some time to think." Say it without guilt. Say it without excessive explanation. You're not responsible for how others feel about your truth. Your job is to live it. The importance of small wins. Don't underestimate the power of small victories. Every time you say no, every time you put your needs first, you take a step toward your inner freedom. Celebrate it. These moments are you rewriting your story. But remember, this is a process, not a one-time fix. You'll slip. That's okay. Don't blame yourself. Learn, adjust, keep going. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. Let's end with something powerful. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. When you value your time, your energy, and your emotional truth, you not only heal, you create the foundation for real, deep, honest relationships. People pleasers don't create real connections. They build fragile agreements based on guilt and fear. But when you show up fully, raw, whole, unmasked, you invite others to meet the real you. Some won't like it. Some will leave. That's okay. As Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga taught us, living to control how others see you is a recipe for misery. You're not here for that. You're here to live a life that feels like yours. A life of clarity, freedom, and self-respect. Your journey forward. If you've made it this far, something inside you, the part Jung called the self, is waking up. That part is calling you to live more truthfully, more courageously. Listen to it. Now tell me, what hit you the hardest in this journey? What patterns are you finally ready to change? Drop it in the comments. Your insight might help someone else take their first step too. And remember, this is just one chapter. The next video in this series will take you even deeper. I'll see you there.